My name is Chelsea. I am the Director of Programs here at Codesmith. So I do a lot of things operationally across our different programs to make sure all the students are taken care of and are heard and listened to, and things with admissions as well. So I'm kind of behind the scenes, but I do interact a lot with you guys when you have questions on the forefront of the program. So yeah, just to know, if you could reserve all questions for the end of the info session, and in particular, we will be having some students come in and they will be doing a Q&A. So you can ask them some of the questions about their day-to-day schedule and kind of how they prepared and things like that, if you want to save those for Beckett and Steve, who will be on later. Awesome. So today we are going to cover, an overview of the programs we offer, a little bit of the curriculum, career services and outcomes, admissions process, financial aid, and how to prepare for admissions. So first off, what is Codesmith? And if you hear my cat, she's playing with her toy, so I hope that's not too loud. First off, we are known for our immersive program first and foremost, but we also host weekly workshops. They've all been online recently. Those are free. We're also pretty well known for our online learning platform, CSX. That's also free. If you all are interested, definitely check that out on our website. And then we now have our part-time remote immersive program and also our full-time remote immersive program, which I will talk about today. We really focus on software engineering excellence. So we value things like thinking like an engineer and becoming an engineer rather than a technician. So think of a technician as someone who knows what they're doing and how to do it. But think of an engineer as someone who knows why they're doing it and knows the most efficient and effective way to get something done. So it's really easy to learn to code, or I don't want to say easy because it's not easy for everyone, but there's a lot of resources out there if you want to learn, the syntax and things like that. But what's really hard is to understand what your code means, how it runs, and kind of the bigger picture there. So we really focus on that here at Codesmith. And in addition to that, analytical problem solving is a big thing for us. So having a deeper understanding of how to solve problems so that when you do come across a block, you can logically find your way out of it. So in the software engineering world, there's always new technologies. You're always going to be learning. The company you're working for might change their tech stack. So just having that skill to problem solve will be like a lifetime benefit for you. But yeah, so our main programs are the 12-week full-time software engineering immersive programs in LA and New York. We also have a full-time remote program that's 12 weeks that will be online. And then we have our 39-week part-time remote software engineering program. So I'll talk a lot more about those as we go through these slides. So why do an immersive program like Codesmith, especially versus like a 4-year computer science degree? So first off, with the 4-year computer science degree, you definitely have a greater return on investment with an immersive program like Codesmith. A lot of actual computer science degree students have come through Codesmith, and they end up with more interesting work in the end, higher pay than a lot of the people they graduated with. Because you finish the program ready to build a full-scale application and you have the project experience to prove that you've built those things. So it really helps people get a mid to senior level job instead of a junior or entry-level job, which is where a lot of our computer science degree grads kind of end up after they graduate. So just some examples, we have a recent grad named Andrew. He actually dropped out of his computer science masters at USC to come to Codesmith, mostly for like the sense of culture, but also the modern tech stack that we are teaching. Some other recent grads, you have Byron, who also had a computer science degree. He came through Codesmith and now he works for Ticketmaster. It's kind of a very common situation where some computer science degree students will then come through Codesmith to kind of level up. Another thing is we teach really in-demand skills, so the technologies that are important that you'll actually work with to build tools, and we're constantly updating our curriculum. If anything's changing out in the, in the tech space, we make sure to update our curriculum so you're learning that up-to-date technology. A lot of times in universities, they can't really turn the curriculum around that quickly, so they kind of teach you the more basic fundamental technologies, whereas at Codesmith, we try to teach you what the developers are using out in the field right now. We also really focus on in-depth learning. So we're really invested in the growth of all our students. So if you do end up applying to Codesmith, you'll notice the admissions process is really lengthy. We're very particular and very good at screening for supportive and empathetic people, because we want to make sure that you enjoy your time here and you're working with people who you are able to build projects with and get a good experience with. It's a really high intense environment because it is, you know, condensed into a smaller 3 months or 39 weeks, but less time than you would see in a 4-year degree. So it's important to be working with people that are dedicated and that who are empathetic with the learning experience. And if any of you have looked at like Course Report or those websites that review boot camps, you'll see a lot of people referencing their Codesmith family and the lifelong friendships that they've built here, because we do put an emphasis into that and making sure that the people who are in our community are representative of our values and that they'll carry that through when they graduate. Also your project and portfolio development. So we'll go more into this later, but the students have the opportunity to make real tools that will make an impact on the tech community. So we'll dive into what that means later on. But this is a really critical piece for those who are transitioning from another career, because it helps build out your resume. So let's say you were working more in like an operations type role, you don't have a tech background. Coming through Codesmith, we give you those projects that you can build your resume out so that you are able to talk to real life experience when you're interviewing for developer roles. And then our career support, which I will go into more later, but we cover everything from creating your LinkedIn profile to helping you whiteboard better and to navigating conversations surrounding salary negotiations and those kind of professional conversations that can sometimes be tricky. All right, so really quickly, the academic team. So Will Sentence, he's our co-founder and CEO. Phil, who is our executive and instructor he sits out of New York. Dave's our lead instructor in LA. Sam's one of our lead engineers in LA as well. If you've done any of our online hard parts workshops, I'm sure you've met some of them. Or Shane, he's our remote instructor for the part-time remote program. There's a picture of me on there when I had blonde hair, which people don't believe that's me. It's me. I need a new headshot. But just some of the many people that work here to support you, and that's not even including all of our fellows. But the academic team will lead your core lectures, help you review material at odd hours, and are the drivers behind your learning and growth throughout the program. So someone like me, I don't lead lectures, but I am there for other like emotional support office hours, which we'll talk about. But I really need to update that headshot. That just doesn't look like me anymore. But it is me, I promise. Awesome. So my favorite thing to talk about is the community here at Codesmith. So like I mentioned, we're a really supportive and collaborative group. So we do things, and this is our remote info session. So that's why you see a screenshot of our part-time remote program here. I think that was probably on Thursday night drinks or maybe one of their circles, but we do family dinner, which in the part-time remote is actually Saturday snacks and shout outs, because it's not always lunchtime depending on where people are taking it. But that's something that we do where everyone kind of eats together and takes a break from their day to shout each other out for little things that everyone's helped each other out with throughout the program. Maybe somebody stayed up late to help you figure out a concept and you want to acknowledge that. Or maybe you're in a project group and you finally made a breakthrough on something and you want to shout out your team members. Or sometimes it's something really small, like so-and-so showed me a picture of their cat and it was really a fun break from coding, things like that. And then some team building activities. So I mentioned the Thursday night drinks. So sometimes everyone will stay on after on Thursday nights and grab a drink and kind of we did like show and tell one night. So a lot of people had pets in the program. So they would bring out their pets and like introduce everyone to them. We've done movie nights where everyone streams a movie and watches together. Bingo, different types of trivia games that we will do. But that's kind of some team building activities we do in the remote space. We also have something called Circles, which is every other week. And that is a time, about 15 minutes, where you get broken up into a smaller group and you'll be paired with a Codesmith team member, so someone like myself or one of the instructors. And you're not allowed to talk about anything code related. And this is built into the curriculum, so it's not in after hours or anything like that. And usually there'll be like a question of the day that you all answer, something fun. And it's a nice little break to kind of take your mind off the curriculum, but also get to know each other. So that's another added community activity that we do. Stress relieving activities. So there's always stretches at morning stand-ups. We have a mindfulness workshop that's optional, but that we offer to people if they want to go in and I think they do like meditation type things or talk about different stress management strategies. So those happen pretty frequently. And then diverse and welcoming. So we see people from all walks of life coming through Codesmith. So some people are fresh out of high school, like we've had 18-year-olds come through the program. We've had bartenders who are transitioning into tech, to business owners, or like I mentioned, computer science degree, coming in to kind of level up their skills. So all ages, nationalities, genders, socioeconomic classes, and beyond are welcome at Codesmith. Great. So inclusivity and diversity. So while we are making strides in all aspects of diversity, we continue to emphasize the need for more women in software engineering. So this is something in particular we like to focus on. These are a few of the initiatives that we take. So we have our Codesmith Women's Mentorship Program. So if you apply to the program, to Codesmith, you'll notice in the application, there's a section where you can denote your gender, and you can also denote if you would like to be partnered with a Codesmith grad who is a woman to kind of mentor you and be basically somebody to ask questions to throughout the application process and beyond. So you'll always have that person's contact information. Our WISE events, so that stands for Women in Software Engineering. We do those on a month-to-month basis, but sometimes it's a panel of women who are working in the field, and it's kind of a Q&A session. Sometimes it's one woman giving a talk on a certain technology, but we try to do those on a monthly basis. And we've even had business owners who aren't developers, but they're female business owners who started their own business, and they came in and kind of talked about their business and how impactful technology was to their startup. So that was a really cool one. They brought a lot of free food samples, which was great. We have Algorithm, which is a meetup we do with women who either are in the program, have graduated, or who are even interested in going to Codesmith. And then you kind of pair and work on an algorithm challenge while also just hanging out and socializing and networking. Within the program, we do ladies' lunches, and we do ladies' nights as well, where all the women who work at Codesmith and the students get to kind of come together, eat lunch, or just kind of get to know each other outside of the program. We've also, if you look at our events, we do a lot of women-only coding happy hours and workshops. So keep an eye out. We do a lot of like intro to JavaScript, women-only online sessions. So those are all, they're like a safe space to come in and learn with other women. And then we have scholarships just for women for all of our programs, for JSB, CS Prep, and the Immersive. Additionally, we have an implicit bias workshop that's built into the curriculum that everyone takes there in the beginning of the program to kind of just talk through the different biases that anyone can face in the field, and address those things early on to make for a more productive and inclusive community throughout the Codesmith experience. And then we also have office hours, which is actually coming up right now in LA. They happen once during the junior portion and once during the senior portion, but basically you are assigned to a Codesmith team member, and it's a safe space to kind of talk through how everything's been going so far in the program, any issues you want to talk through, what's been going well, what hasn't been going well, just a safe space to talk through how you're feeling and how everything's been going. So that's, I mean, those are scheduled office hours, but we're also always available to talk through anything throughout the program. Awesome. So logistics, for the full-time remote immersive, the hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. It would be a total of 13 weeks. There's that 1 week halfway through that you don't have instruction. It's called ideation week. So you work on with your production project groups, kind of coming up with what you want to build, but there aren't any scheduled hours that week. You can kind of meet whenever you'd like. There won't be any lectures. And it will be administered remotely through Zoom, kind of how we are right now. So that we're first launching that one in June, and I'll go through, actually, starting in June. So I'll go through the dates a little bit later. The part-time remote immersive is Monday through Thursday, 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So a total of 39 weeks. You have 2 weeks off for that project ideation that I mentioned, but you also have an additional 2 weeks off to kind of break up the 39, the whole 9 months. So after the first section, you have a week off, the middle section, then a week off in the final section. So that is also done remotely, as the name entails, over Zoom. And I actually have 2 students who are currently in the program, the part-time remote immersive, who are going to hop in a little bit to do Q&A for you all. The next part-time remote immersive cohort will be May 23rd, and the deadline to apply to that one is April 20th. But again, I'll refresh all the dates in a future slide, so don't feel like you have to write all that down right now. Core curriculum. So this is the kind of first half of the program. You go through all of the core curriculum, the core lectures, so covering computer science, topics like algorithms, system design, data structures, design patterns, programming paradigms. The front end stuff, so React and Redux, back end, you'll do Node, Express, databases, Postgres, MongoDB. You'll work through units per programming for each of these lectures, so that would also be remotely over Zoom. You'll cover best engineering practices like debugging, clean code, creating your own tests, researching when you get stuck, so using sites like MDN. And then towards the end of that portion, you'll start doing your project building. So you'll do a solo project, a Scratch project, and an iteration project. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a future slide. This is a screenshot of Shane. He's our part-time remote lead instructor. He's really funny. So more of the advanced curriculum that you get. In this portion of the program, you spend the majority of your time coding on the production project, which is your main project throughout the program. I mentioned that ideation week where you take that week off to kind of decide what you're going to build. And then when you get to the advanced curriculum, you're spending a lot of your time coding for that project. But you also have some advanced lectures on DevOps, advanced Git, UX, UI, system design, machine learning. And then, like I mentioned, you build your production project. You also do a reinforcement project, which happens towards the very end of the program. You'll do hack hours, which are very focused on the kind of algorithms you might see in an interview, so that you start getting comfortable working through those. Tech talks, which are awesome. You do basically a 15-minute live stream talk on a technology any technology, I mean, it has to be approved by the team, but there's a very wide list, a technology that you would like to give a personal talk on. You can do it by yourself or in a pair. It's live streamed, so anyone around the world can join. We record it, we give you that recording so you can have it if you ever want to show anyone when you're in the interview process, or put it on your social media or anything. So it's another experience to get to talk about a technology in a very professional setting. And then the hiring program, which I will talk a little bit about in a future slide. So the projects, there are several projects that you'll do. The first one you'll tackle is the solo project. So as you can imagine, solo, you are doing it alone. You'll focus on about 1 to 2 technologies, integrate APIs. It'll be the first time you're really building something from scratch as an individual. Other 2 projects you hit in the beginning portion are the Scratch and iteration projects. So here you'll really start grasping engineering best practices, such as like working with the Scrum board and agile methodologies, and basically working to create something a little more advanced. In particular, iteration project is where you will jump into some other group's project and implement improvements and stretch features. So this teaches you how to jump into a new code base without much guidance, which is really helpful, especially in the working world, wherever your job is, or if you switch jobs, you'll have to jump into a new code base and kind of figure out how to adjust there. Production project, the big project that I keep mentioning, it's like the culmination of everything in the program. You build something that can tackle a difficult problem that you're seeing in the developer community. So a lot of people will build developer tools. So something that they know, a developer working at Google or Facebook or any company, something that person could use to make their lives easier. So something that maybe takes a lengthier process, it makes it quicker. So this project, sometimes at other programs, it's people want to do something flashy or make a fun app that people use, like, you know, the things that you kind of use day to day as a regular person out there. But at Codesmith, we really want people to build things that when they're interviewing, developers who are interviewing you can imagine using that to make their day-to-day work easier. So that's another thing that kind of sets us apart and makes things different here. We want you to solve a real world problem that will challenge you, have you using like really technical things that maybe, you know, the day-to-day average person won't understand, but it will be impressive when you're doing your job search. So a lot of our past production projects have gone pretty far. Actually, you can check out our page, but we have some people who have over 9,000 stars on GitHub. We've had people who go to interview at Facebook and talk about their production project, and the person interviewing, this one person that I'm thinking of, literally said, oh, I used that. Like the tool he built at Codesmith, his interviewer had used, which was really cool. But it's just a way to help move your resume forward and your skills forward. A lot of people get scared to build their production project, especially through ideation, because it's kind of hard to imagine, like, what can I build like in this world that doesn't already exist? But don't worry, we have a whole team on staff to help you talk through all your ideas. You'll actually have to come up with 5 ideas to start, and the team will help you work through which idea is best, which is doable, but also impressive. So you won't be, you know, all off on your own trying to figure out what you'll build, but it will be something challenging and really help you. You'll have to really problem solve, and you'll find it to be really beneficial. Reinforcement project is also the last project you'll do at Codesmith. So it's meant to reinforce. So think of a technology that you maybe went through during the beginning of the program that you're a little shady on, or you kind of need some more like clarification. Usually you'll build your final project using that technology to reinforce your skills. That way you'll be able to solidify some things that will be really valuable in the application process. Yeah, so those are the main projects. Or the only projects. I don't want to scare you. And then career services. So some of the things that we do here to prepare you for your job search. So practice and mock interviews. So you'll spend, like I mentioned, the hack hours solving advanced algorithm challenges. And these will be really helpful when you interview. But we also do mock interviews. So we have alumni come back and do mock interviews with the students, just so you are able to kind of practice that interview before you have to go out in the real world and do it. But it's also helpful because all of our alum are working at these types of companies, so they have really good insight and can kind of guide you in how to present yourself there. Location-based career support. So with students in this program being spread throughout the globe, our career services team is dedicated to personalizing the hiring needs for various locations. So in the past, our hiring team has helped place grads all around the world, from Amsterdam, LA. We have people in Austin. We have people in Colorado. We have people in fully remote roles who are like surfing in Peru, but working for a company in the US. So we definitely have people all over, not just in LA and New York. And then our online profile and resume. So you'll do a bunch of workshops on how to craft everything from your LinkedIn profile, your AngelList profile, your formal resume, even your presence on GitHub. So you'll get a lot of guidance there and final approvals to make sure everything looks good before you graduate. And then post-grad support. This is something really special that Codesmith does. So we definitely don't forget about you after you leave. If anything, you might find us a little bit annoying, but we promise it's just to make sure that you all are doing everything you can to secure a job. So there's 2 check-ins after you graduate where you have to come back as a cohort and do a check-in with our alumni team, where everyone gives kind of an update on what they've been doing since they graduated, the types of jobs they've been applying to, the types of interviews they've been getting. So it's more of like a place for us to give you advice and make sure you're on the right track, but also you can hear where your cohort mates are at and get advice from them as well. But then also we send out a check-in form every 2 weeks that we ask you to fill out, just to update us on your job search, so we can make sure you're applying to as many jobs as you should be, getting the interviews that you should be, and it also gives you an opportunity to ask us if you need help on anything. And then we also have mock interview sessions that you can set up with the team. So you can set up a mock technical interview to go through like a coding challenge with one of our technical team members, or you can even set up a mock non-technical interview if you just feel like you need to practice your narrative and kind of talking through your experience that way. That's always available to you after you graduate. Some overview of some of the jobs that some of our grads have gotten. Some recent grads are working at IBM, Virgin Hyperloop, Ticketmaster, like I mentioned. We have a few people at Netflix, Sweetgreen. These are only on-site outcomes, I do want to note, because we just started our remote program, but we anticipate that we'll get the same numbers since it's the same curriculum and it's the same outreach strategy that we'll be applying. But if you want to take a look, we're on SIR, which is that website, or I don't want to call them just a website, they're an organization that audits third-party all these results from different boot camps. You can kind of go in and compare. But they audit all of our salary results and all of our grads. So take a look there for sure if you have time. But here's just a snapshot of it. Our median starting salary is $120K. It's $114.7K specifically in LA, $125K in New York. 91% of our grads are hired within 180 days. And then right now we have over 400 graduates. And we have an alumni channel, which I find really valuable. So once you graduate, there's a Slack workspace that has all of the Codesmith alum in it. It's basically a lot of people kind of asking for advice for interviews, or have you interviewed here? Does anyone know anyone who works here? So it's a really good network to kind of put people in touch. Like if you want to work at your dream job is to work at this company, like you could always post in that channel, and everyone's just always willing to help. It's a really great alumni network. Okay, admissions. So these are the main things we look for in candidates. So analytical problem solving. So can you break down complex challenges and develop a strategy for solving the problem? Your technical communication. So can I implement your approach just from how you explained it? This is something that's really valuable. This skill, being able to technically communicate, is really valuable when you start interviewing for jobs, because a lot of people learn how to code kind of alone or not really used to talking through what they've built. So it's really good to get into the practice of explaining what you're coding. Engineering approach, so how you handle not knowing something, debugging, code structure, patience, and reference to documentation. So obviously we can't know everything, so it's important to have the right approach when you don't know something and figuring out how you can get to that answer. Non-technical communication, I talked about this before, but we're looking for really empathetic and thoughtful people who can be supportive of each other in this community. And then for remote programs in particular, we want to make sure that everyone is driven and committed, because you are remote and you're kind of in your own space trying to learn. So you need to have that drive and that commitment to follow through with these types of things, even though you're in your own home. And then JavaScript and programming experience. So you need to be really comfortable with concepts like higher order functions, closures, objects, and algorithms. Here's the process for admission. So first step is to submit an online application. In that application, you will complete a coding challenge, and then there's some essay questions. I'll actually be sending you all some fast track codes in my follow-up email, one for the part-time program and one for the full-time remote program. Those codes will allow you to skip the essays if you're able to solve the coding challenge. So I'll definitely send those out. They expire in 24 hours, but again, if you aren't ready to apply, you can always come to another workshop and you'll get those codes again. The next step is a non-technical interview. It's usually with a team member like myself, or it might be with Shanda or Lauren. But basically, this is just to get a sense of your goals, why you're interested in Codesmith, your background, and kind of a plan for which cohort you're interested in. If that goes well, you'll be invited to the technical interview. So that's where you're going to go through JavaScript coding challenges with one of the engineers on our team. So that's where you want to be able to be ready to solve challenges related to the JavaScript items I mentioned before. I'll go back. So like higher order functions, closure, objects, and algorithms. Those will be important to really understand for the technical interview, but they will be judging you in that interview. Judging is a strong word. They will be using these 5 concepts to rate you in that interview and determine if you're ready for the next step, which is admission. But don't stress too much. You can take the technical interview up to 3 times. So if you don't pass the first time, we give you very detailed feedback on what you need to work on. We'll also give you resources and things. So there's always, you know, a lot of stress with the technical interview, but it's good to know that you can take it 3 times. After that, you'll hear back from the admissions team. We do operate on rolling admissions. So if you're admitted, you'll hear back, or you'll have a call and we'll talk through the feedback if you need to re-interview. But at that point, if you're admitted, that's when we usually talk through financing and scholarships and things like that, which I will talk about now. So the tuition for any of our programs is $18,800. We do have a scholarship fund, so if you're admitted and you're interested in applying to the scholarship, just ask the admissions team. They'll send you the application. It's a short essay type application, so just be prepared to write an essay. We also have payment plans for the part-time remote program since it's spread over 9 months, so I'll talk about those plans. And then our financing partners, so Climb and Skills Fund, they can offer loans to cover the full tuition. If you're interested in just taking a look to see what your interest rate would be or anything like that, you can go directly to their websites and they can give you an idea of what it would look like for you. So for the part-time remote immersive, this is just a breakdown of the 3 plans we offer. So everyone would have to submit their initial payment of $2,300 to reserve your spot in the cohort. But then we have these different plans depending on how much you're able to pay up front, meaning how much you're able to pay on day 1. It starts as low as $2,500 on day 1, and then you would make these 8 monthly payments of $1,750, $1,750, or if you can pay a little bit more up front, then your 8 monthly payments will go down. And we're a little bit flexible on this. If you want to pay even more than $8,500 on day 1, we can work out that. But basically, we just like to put, if people want to pay it on a monthly basis for the part-time remote program, we can work something out like that. We can also do that for the full-time remote, but then it would be over 3 months since it's a shorter program. So if you wanted to make that payment in 3 months, you can. That's something you could work out with the admissions team upon acceptance. How to prepare. So CSX is our free online learning platform. If you go to our website, I highly recommend signing up for it. That's a great place to start. We have a ton of videos in there, and it's probably the best way to start preparing for the interview. And then you should definitely join the Slack workspace so you can kind of find other people that are preparing, meet up with people, or pair program remotely, ask any questions that you're struggling with. We're all in that channel too, the Codesmith team, so you can send us questions in there as well. And then our free JavaScript workshops. So we have them weekly, several a week. Definitely check out our events page. They're all online right now. But once we're not required to be remote, we do have them in LA and New York on site too. So if you're just starting out, I would recommend starting with the Intro to JavaScript workshops. But we also have JavaScript, the hard parts, usually every Thursday. And that's the one that's really, really helpful in preparing for the technical interview. You're still welcome to join that one, even if you're just starting out, by the way. All levels are welcome in either. Then we have some paid prep courses that you can take. So JavaScript for beginners is, like the name implies, meant for people who are just starting out with coding. You could have never seen a line of code and take this course. So it happens on 2 consecutive Saturdays, and it's completely remote, so 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, online only, like I mentioned. This one is $300 for the tuition, but we have scholarships available. And the tuition rolls over, which I can explain when we go through the next slide. But basically, if you pay for JavaScript for beginners and you end up doing the program, the immersive program, that $300 will roll over and be deducted from the total tuition you owe. Or if you do CS Prep, which is another prep program we offer, that tuition will roll over. So this is an online part-time prep program that covers core JavaScript concepts, engineering best practices. It is still introductory, but you will have to do a little bit of pre-course before starting CS Prep. So if you've never coded before, we recommend starting with JSB. But if you've been doing CSX and you kind of understand the introductory concepts, then CS Prep is the next step we recommend. It lasts for 2 weeks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays from 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's online only. The course costs $750, but we do have scholarships you can apply for upon acceptance. And like I said, the tuition rolls over, so that $750 would be deducted from the Immersive program tuition if you did go on to take the Immersive program. Same with your JSB tuition. So if you took JSB and you already paid the $300 and then you wanted to do CS prep, you would actually only pay $450 at that point because you had already paid the $300. And then that total $750 would be deducted from your Immersive tuition if you did the next program. Sometimes that confuses people, so I'm happy to talk through it if anyone has questions. Some important dates. So the next JavaScript for Beginners cohort starts April 4th. Applications are closing soon, but you can still apply. We added in another CS prep cohort because we had one that starts today. We added in one that's starting April 13th, so that's still open if you want to apply. The part-time remote, our next cohort is May 23rd. To apply is April 20th. And then the following cohort after that would be August 29th. And the deadline there is July 3rd. And then our full-time remote immersive, which hasn't been, I don't think, officially fully announced. So this is inside info. It's on our website though. Our next cohort is June 29th. The deadline to apply would be June 1st. And like I said, you'll be getting fast track codes from me in an email tomorrow so that you can bypass the essays if you're ready to apply. Wow, I always feel like I talk so much in this online info session. So I'll let you all ask me any questions you have. You could type them in the chat or you can say them aloud. I will also send a message to our two students who are going to join so that they can help answer more questions about like student experience and things like that. But yeah, any questions?
I have a question. Oh.
For it. No question, Matt?
Sorry, I thought I heard somebody else talk.
Yeah.
I just have a question that I feel like you might have answered, but I was wondering if, because of COVID-19 and everything, if some of your on-site dates had moved to online, or if it's just these, the June 29th is the first one.
Yes, some of our on-site dates have moved to online. So our LA and New York cohorts are remote as of now. And we'll plan to be remote as long as this is happening. The difference is that if we do like end up coming back on site, you would, and you happen to be in one of those cohorts, you'd have to be able to, you know, join on site when they did start back. But yes, we've been remote there. I didn't cover that, so don't worry. Juan, if you already submitted the application and answered the essays but didn't do the challenge, that's okay. As long as you submitted an application, you should hear back from the admissions team. Something important to note, a lot of people feel like they need to be completely ready for the technical interview just to submit the initial application, and that's not the case. The process does take some time, so feel free to submit the application at any point and do that first interview to talk through your goals, but there's no like rule on how quickly you need to set up that technical interview if you're not ready. What's the size of a class for part-time online? So our current beta cohort has about 22 people, but it could probably range between 28 to 30 people. It depends on how many qualified applicants we get. What times? Oh, great question, Roseanne. I believe the full-time remote program is actually going to be an East Coast time, but that's a good point. We didn't have the EST or PST denoted on there. I'll get that confirmed, and when I send my follow-up email to all of you, I'll make sure that's in there so that you all know. Like I mentioned, we're just launching this one. CSX topics are very similar to the topics in CS Prep. Can you explain the difference? Yes, so CS Prep, you actually do you do like a group project, so that's another added thing that you'll go through. You have live instruction, so there's a teacher in there that you can ask questions to in the moment. There are some other curriculum topics that are covered in CS Prep that aren't covered in CSX. I'll put that in my email because I can't think of what they are off the top of my head. You also do pair programming every day, so you get that experience. You'll film a technical communication video that the instructor will review and give you feedback on to make sure you're technically communicating properly. And then you also get these problems of the day, so these extra challenges that you can work through during the program. During the admissions process for the analytical problem solving skill, is the first thing you look at can you give me? No, so the analytical problem solving is something that is assessed in your technical interview. So a lot of the interview is focused on your thought process in the moment. So maybe you don't know the answer to the challenge, but when you're talking through kind of how you imagine you would solve it, that gives our interview a lot of insight into your problem solving skills. So just because you don't get to the answer or even finish the challenge, talking through your steps that you're planning to take and walking the person through that is giving us insight into your problem solving abilities. Yes, Alora, and sorry if I mispronounced that, there is scholarships for women specifically for CS Prep, JSB, and for the Immersive. Yes, Kevin, you are allowed a certain amount of absences for Immersive if you have a wedding. I know, especially over 9 months, it's hard to not miss just one day, so that is accounted for. End of May, full-time Immersive was pushed back. Yes, when we went remotely, we did push back our programs just by 1 week for the LA and New York because we wanted to give our students a week to just get situated considering everything that was happening. So yes, the next start date for New York is now April 6th, and it's subsequently pushing back the rest of the year. What are the benefits of adding a fast track code to my applications besides not answering the essays? So that guarantees you to be invited to the next round interview, and you can't add it to your application if you've already submitted it, no. Anika, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, we have Anika that works at Codesmith, but sometimes people call her Annika, so I don't know how you pronounce it. But for women in the part-time remote, we have a scholarship just for women that can cover up to 25% of the tuition. So you would just apply for it upon acceptance. It's a short essay question, and we usually award about 2 per cohort. There's also, for the LGBT community, we partner with Lesbians Who Tech. We offer 2 scholarships through them each year if you want to look at their website. That's separate from what we offer. How do holidays work? Yeah, for special holidays, we do give days off and we make up that time either with shorter lunches or we'll add a few days to the cohort. It depends when the holidays are falling, Frank. Okay, I think I have to let our part-time remote immersive students take over for their Q&A because they actually have class starting at 5 o'clock. So they have, right? So they have 15 minutes to answer some questions. So Steve and Beckett, maybe starting with Steve and then Beckett, could you just give a brief intro about yourself and what you were doing before Codesmith? And then we'll let everyone, start answering or asking questions.
Sure thing. Hey, I'm Steve Dang. Previously, I used to be working as a quality assurance manager and for a large tech firm out here in LA. So I was doing that in quality assurance, and I wanted to get more back into development side of things, and I found Codesmith. So now I'm happily part of the part-time remote program.
Hey, I'm Beckett. I am currently, my main job is I'm a project manager for building websites for people. And I am not that great at it. I much prefer programming. I've always enjoyed it more, but never been like super good at that either. But I've finally gotten to a point where I'm like, I think I could actually do this. And I think Codesmith's stuff, I started with CSX and went to some of the hard parts classes and realized that the way Codesmith teaches actually made sense to me and made me feel like I could actually understand things at a deeper level. And I'm definitely finding that in the immersive as well and really enjoying it so far. So yeah, this is week 6 for us, right, Steve?
Has it been 6 weeks? Wow.
Yeah, it's gone by really fast.
That is funny. Awesome. Thank you both for those intros. So if everyone could actually just audibly ask your questions, you could put them in the chat too, but I think it'll be easier for Becca and Steve if you just kind of raise your hand and go for it. Any questions?
I have a question. Just wondering what the workload is like and how you're able to manage your day job, I guess, on top of the program?
I'll jump in first, I guess. Yeah, so I have gone down a little bit in my hours. I do more like a 30-hour week right now with my job, and it's flexible in terms of hours as well. So, you know, if some days I really need to, I can do a little bit less or a little bit more. So for me, I'm in Pacific time, and it's a Pacific time 5 to 8 p.m. For this part-time immersive. And so I basically try to work 10 to 4, and then I do class from 5 to 8. And I try really hard to, my wife, I have fibromyalgia, my wife and I have a lot of like food allergies and stuff. And so we've been getting some support with like meals and stuff like that, so that we can kind of just heat things up for the most part. And we do a lot of batch cooking on the weekends, spent most of yesterday just cooking stuff. So things like that. And my wife being super supportive and taking care of a lot of that stuff has made it possible, because I'm still doing, you know, about 50-hour weeks. And especially with like health challenges and stuff, that can be really tough. So it also helps that I'm used to working remote. So being in a remote program works well for me. I have kind of a setup that already I'm familiar with, and I'm able to focus fairly well with just working from home and stuff like that. So it definitely, it's a lot. I think knowing there's an end to it also helps. It's not going to be like 50 hours a week forever, but it definitely has been a little bit tough. You know, I don't have as much free time as I used to, and being really intentional about taking my lunch breaks actually at work has been a really important thing for me, because I wasn't as good at that before. So it's kind of like even breaking up those 6 hours that I am still doing a little bit more has been really good for me. Sometimes I'm doing my VR Beat Saber so that I can at least get some exercise in the day. And I work right in front of a window too. So at least seeing that there was some sun outside sometimes also helps.
So every week we have challenges and some work and coding exercises. And for the most part, you can do the basic requirements of finishing that stuff throughout the week. I'm not working right now, but I do still dedicate about 2 to 3 hours of on my own just to do any extra credit work, any bonuses or extensions. That's not required, but I still take the time out to do those. And we do have, I think, every week hack hours. And just last week we had a hackathon where you do put in a little more time outside of the class, but for the most part, you do get to finish all of your work within the time frame of the class itself. But I would expect to probably make a buffer of a couple hours a day, either an hour before class, an hour after class, just in case you want to do some extra work and reinforce your learnings.
Yeah, I would also add too that for me, like I don't really do anything outside of class besides that hack hour. So with the part-time one, at least, I'm in class 5 to 8, and then I do the 1 hour on Fridays, and that's it. I just stick with that. Sometimes I'll even try and do that on a Thursday. So Friday and Sunday are sort of a day off that way. But yeah, so they've made it, at least with the part-time one, they've really prioritized making it so that you can do everything in the hours if you need to, which I think is huge for me. I don't think I would be able to do it if it wasn't like that. So I appreciate the way they've done that.
Thank you.
Questions. You can put them in the chat if you want. Chat's not off limits. I just like to get to know you all and see your cameras on, but questions can go in the chat too.
Hi, how have you found partner work and working with the community while it's a remote class?
So far, it has been great. If you're referring to the pair programming sessions every night, that has been actually an eye-opening, invaluable experience. It's surprising how much you not only learn from the instructors, but how much you learn from your peers. It's truly amazing how you bounce ideas off each other. You learn how they solve problems. I really enjoyed that aspect of this course.
Yeah, I was a little intimidated about it at first, honestly. I've always done stuff on my own. I'm not even used to learning from other people. I like kind of homeschooled myself for most of my school experience as a kid. So it's like, it's harder for me to like learn from other people. But I really enjoyed doing my pair programming. Every week we get a different partner. And so it's like every single time we're getting someone with different experiences, different skills. Some people know a lot more than me in the particular area we're working on. And so they'll kind of be like able to like offer good questions and stuff to challenge me to kind of figure it out because they know a little bit more. Other times I know more than them and I get to kind of really learn more by explaining it again in a way that's like not giving them the answer, but kind of guiding them towards it. And I've realized it's actually, everyone's so kind. And I feel completely respected by everyone I've worked with. I feel like everyone in our class is super supportive of each other. Like Steve said, people like there's all these like there's a channel where people are just like throwing challenges in every day so everyone can like challenge themselves to get even better. But it's also just like, even just being able to show up in those couple of hours with each person, it feels like we make so much progress, and it's amazing for someone you've just met, basically, working for the first time with them, and for their first hour or so it's a bit awkward, and then you kind of get into your flow and you get so much done. It's baffling to me how much we do in a week on our challenges, especially with someone that we've never worked with before. And I think that goes to show the way that Codesmith is really intentional about the people that they choose for the program, with that empathy and respect for everyone else in the class, that you can get on so well with each other. And you also give feedback at the end of every week, so you get to learn different people, like, how did you do, where could you improve, how could you make it a better learning experience? And it's really awesome to get that feedback, because you get to then be a better developer in the context of working with other people too, which I think is super important.
Yeah, just to reinforce what Becca said, in part of the feedback at the end of each week, it really helps become a better pair programming partner for the next week, for the next partner you work with. And it does reinforce your technical communication. I've struggled with that, and every week I'm getting better and better, because I'm learning how to communicate my ideas and approaches much better to every person I work with.
Yeah.
And then there are two questions, Beckett and Steve, in the chat. So Frank, why did you choose Codesmith over other programs?
Yeah, Hack Reactor was the other main one I was looking at. I had a friend who went there, so I just kind of looked at them initially, and I saw that they have really good results up there with Codesmith. They're kind of the top two, it seems like, in the US. And for me, the things I'd heard about Hack Reactor's culture, I was a little bit like, I don't know if I'd feel completely safe there, completely respected there. And every interaction that I had with everyone at Codesmith, and in the reviews that I was reading as well, I was like, this feels like a place where I would feel safe, and I would feel like it fits in with the values that I have and the way that I want to treat people and be treated and stuff like that. And that has proven true in every experience that I've had along the way as well. And I feel like it also, it's the kind of the way that I want to show up in the world as a developer. The things that they're encouraging of us contributing to the development community, as soon as we know enough, it's like we're already giving back. We're already looking for ways that we can support other people with it. And even, just being able to get feedback, honest feedback from each other, I think is a huge thing for me, so that I can grow as a person. And just the teaching is the other thing. I watched some of the videos online of like Will teaching. I went to some hard parts with Shane Taylor, who's the instructor for the part-time program, and I was just blown away by the level to which they were able to explain things, and how everything was working under the hood. And I would actually walk away feeling like I got it. And that was so rare for me before with any kind of programming stuff, where I would feel like, okay, I did this little code along tutorial, and I walk away and be like, I don't know how to do any of that though. If I wanted to go do it on my own, I would have no clue what to do. And for the first time I was like, no, I think I actually get it. And so being able to connect with that, especially because it's harder for me to learn from other people, I was so used to teaching myself, to see that I could actually understand it was really huge.
I have a question sort of along those lines. So you said that you had a hard time understanding things that were that you had to figure out on your own. How is the material presented to students? Are there lectures and exercises, or like, do you have to look a lot of things up? Because I'm not a very good looker upper either. So I like to have material presented and have like a challenge and some sort of way to like quiz myself or challenge myself, and just wondering what it's like and like that.
Yeah, when you, so we usually do a lecture or two a week. For the most part, we're just working on stuff with our pair programming partner. So you really are figuring a lot out yourself. Definitely looking up documentation as you go, but they will start you off in the week with like a lecture explaining the kind of the main concept. And then they have a help desk, and that's such a huge thing, because then when you do get stuck, let's say you and your partner have spent at least 30 minutes on something and you're just not getting anywhere, you're doing your research, there's a specific format you ask in to really make sure you're understanding the problem first, and then they will jump in with you into your room, and they'll either an instructor or a fellow or a lead technical mentor, they'll jump in, they'll ask some really good questions and get you to that answer. So you're still really learning even as you're even from that block. You're still figuring it out. And yeah, that's made me feel really good when I know I'm going to be supported when I do get really stuck and can't figure it out.
Right, because I've Googled things before, and sometimes I'm Googling like the totally wrong subject. So that's good to know that there's a help desk that someone can kind of point you in the direction that you need to go to find your answer. So great.
Yeah. And your partner will often help too. They might know more than you in a certain area.
Sure.
And so they might go, oh, actually, why don't we look it up this way? You get to learn from their techniques even. So you're watching them research something, and they might be sharing their screen, and that can be really good too.
Great, thanks.
I know Steve and Beckett, you have 3 minutes before class starts.
Yeah.
Do you want to just answer Stanley's question before you sign off? He asked, what's the biggest thing you wish you knew before starting the Immersive program? Steve or Beckett, whoever feels ready to respond.
One area would be probably HTML and CSS, a little bit stronger on those concepts. You do get into a little bit and you do learn a little bit about it, but having a bit better foundation would make things a little easier on some of the challenges, at least for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a fair bit, but yeah, it does seem like something that would be good to know a little bit of if you don't already. Not even like that much, but just, maybe some like Flexbox stuff to understand how to position some things in CSS, just some basic HTML, like what are the main ways that you structure the content on a page. That could definitely be helpful.
Awesome.
And
Well, go for it.
Going through CSX, honestly, is like probably the best prep you could have. That and practicing pairing with other people if you can. I didn't, and I kind of wish I had, because I'm definitely like still adjusting to that. But doing CSX was a huge thing, and that was one of the biggest things for prepping for the technical interview too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I went through CSX, and if you can and afford it, CS Prep I went through was absolutely invaluable as well.
Awesome.
Nice.
Steve and Beckett, you are the best. Thank you so much for joining. I'll let you go back or start class. And then everyone else, you'll be getting a follow-up email from me. So if other questions that you had were answered, you can always respond to my email and I'll be sure to get you answers on those. But as Beckett mentioned, pair programming is something that's really helpful to do before the program. And I forgot to mention, we do offer remote pair programming workshops now. So definitely look at our website and feel free to join some of those sessions if you want more experience paired. But yeah, it was so nice speaking with all of you. You'll get an email from me, and I was able to clarify that the full-time remote program is on Eastern Standard Time, but I'll put that in the email just so you all have it. And thank you all for joining. Looking forward to getting to know you all. Thanks again, Becca and Steve. Bye, everybody.
Good to meet everybody.